What's up, everybody? Emperor John Kill 3D Gaming here with another video. I know it's been a minute since I made one, and it's about a game that I have slept on for actually quite a while. And this game released back in March 25th, 2022. That is Ghostwire Tokyo. Now, Ghostwire Tokyo is one of the most unique and oddly bizarre games that I have played. Don't get me wrong, I had to play it a couple times to find my groove with it, because I'm like, the first time I played it I was just like, oh, okay, it is what it is. It's, you know, supernatural stuff. But then when you really dive into the game, when you really dive into Ghostwire Tokyo, between its main campaign and its bonus mode called the Spider's Thread, there's a lot to enjoy about it. Now, the game is not super long. Like, it's not Grand Theft Auto levels of long or anything you would find from any Bethesda game, because this is made by Tango Gameworks, the people of the Evil Within and other such games. The main story alone is 11 and a half hours. But if you want to complete everything, that's going to take you roughly to 20 to 23 hours to do. Now, when you get into this game, it starts off at a brisk pace with this supernatural ghostly invasion and the map being covered in this Silent Hill level of mist around the city that you have to go around and find these shrines to uncover more of the map, being able to uncover more unlockables, more missions, and more things to keep you busy, while the constant threat of these Japanese spirits, also known as yokai, are in the game. You control the elements as you are bonded with a undead detective or cop of some sort, and your character is an older brother trying to protect his sister from the lead villain of this game, who requires her to achieve the power he so seeks. You know, you can customize your character's appearance very little, not major, because the character, he's already set the way he's meant to look in the main game, but you can unlock different outfits. Hell, you can unlock one of the outfits from the Evil Within, and it's fun to use. There is files to let you know what kind of enemies you're dealing with. You know, in case you need to forget something, it's easy to just click and find out what you need to do. And that's the thing about the game. It's easily accessible, but oddly challenging, especially with its combat. The combat is unique and rewarding. You just think it's a standard first-person shooter. Yes, it's an FPS, but there are no guns. You are controlling elemental magic through your fingertips. And at first, I had to get used to how the character does the magic. Like, you know, you get kind of distracted when he's doing all these weird hand motions, a la something out of fucking Naruto. But when you start pulling off these moves, these insane combos between switching off different magical attacks, learning what attacks work on what enemies, and then when you can defeat groups of enemies, then you feel really good. The game does have a sharp difficulty at certain points in the game, and if you're not prepared for certain parts, you will get killed. You know, playing this game and doing the whole ethereal weaving, that was something that I liked as I continued to replay it. Now, one thing I gotta say is how you level up in the game is you have to collect these floating spirits, whether the ghostly enemies are trying to steal the spirits to make sure you don't get a hold of them, or you're helping different ghosts, like actual human ghosts, from dogs to cats to human beings to children, women, men, anything like that. And you basically have shops. And if you're probably wondering, how the hell does a shop work if you're in some sort of ethereal apocalypse? Well, the yokai cat spirits are the ones that buy them from. It's very funny. The game is like the game. This is what I think I really like about it. It's very much rooted in its Japanese theme. And also, one of the things I like is when you look at the rain, I thought the rain was just looked bad, and it kind of does. That's one of the very few gripes, that the rain looks bad, but it reminds me of the Matrix. You know when the rain falls in the Matrix and it looks like the Matrix green coating? In this, when rain falls, it looks like this the blue Japanese lettering, spirit chants and spells and things like that. It's like all within the rain cycles you see happening, and it comes and goes. This game does have a very, very massive Silent Hill vibe. Like, imagine if you took Silent Hill, made it an FPS where you control elements, and throw it in Japan with their version of supernatural entities, supernatural demons, and supernatural phenomenons. Now, and also at certain points, you can get lost. Now, figuring things out with how you need to traverse, because you also can traverse rooftops. You can sort of do a gliding fly. There's stealth, which is also highly encouraged because stealth is a one-hit kill to the enemies, except for the certain mini bosses, and of course they're not going to work on the giant bosses. What the game expects for you to do is, yes, you have to play the game the way the game is designed to be played, but you can play it in your own way. You don't need to rush the game. I could go out and do as many side missions as I need to do, collect as many spirits as I need to, take down as many enemies as I need to, till I'm powered up, ready, and leveled up, booming to go. Now, one thing I gotta say is I actually did enjoy the story to this game. Now, the story, it's very simple. It's not complicated. That's the good thing. It's not complicated. It's very simple, but it gives you that motivation to see this journey through to the end, to save this character's sister, to learn more about the cop that's bonded with you. It also reminds me a little bit of, that's kind of like how Yu-Gi-Oh is, where you have the Pharaoh Atem and Yugi's soul merged into one, and they can swap back together they can swap in and out at will. The same with Moon Knight. Moon Knight and his many personalities, you could swap in and out at will. When you play this game, there are certain parts where, do you want to take direct control, or it'll ask you, do you want your partner to take control of the situation? He's mainly relegated to just puzzles, cutscenes, and of course your magical abilities come from him. You know, some of the spell weaving, though, when it comes to doing like the mini games where you have to use the touchscreen on a PlayStation controller, it's kind of wonky a little bit. You have to do it precisely, but luckily all you have to do is, if you want to just get through the puzzle quick, your partner KK, all you have to do is just hold the square button and he'll do the motion for you, and then you just hit the two back trigger buttons. Boom. You didn't waste any of your time. But I do encourage to at least try to test it out. You know, maybe it's just I'm not prone to doing stuff on a fucking touch screen that isn't with a DS stylus pen. I think a button combination would have just been better to put in instead of a touchscreen motion putting in a symbol. But it's not an overall bad mechanic if you can learn how to use it. Now, the game is horrifically beautiful. What do I mean by horrifically beautiful? It's, you can see, it's not overly, there's no gore, there's no blood. Everything is very done very well through the spiritual plane, through the supernatural elements that it presents to you. And it really has you rooted in Japanese mythology, but in a different way. It's like, it has almost this techno vibe to it. Like, how do I say this? Techno-ish vibe to the undead, the ghosts. The ghosts look very, very much like the main enemy looks like Slenderman. Like, not the main boss of the game. The main enemy types with the umbrellas, they look like Slenderman with umbrellas. Then you also have enemies that are headless to also give you hints to, I think one of the entities in Japanese mythology is a woman who's split from the bottom half or who doesn't have a head. I believe that the entity is called the Teke Teke. You get very much wanting to be like, oh, I know this. If you ever looked into Japanese mythology, if you're a person that likes Japanese myth, ghosts, spirits, if you study that type of stuff and you happen to be a gamer, then you would pretty much enjoy this game. I like that each of the boss enemies in this game are a different variation of an Oni. Now, some of their patterns can be predictable, but they look so fucking cool when you fight them. You know, they do spells just like you. These enemies that, like these main bosses, they have similar spiritual attacks, but Sometimes you have to defend, parry to throw things back at them. Sometimes you have to hit them with a particular element. It really encourages you to weave through your spells. Now, pretty sure people are going to have their favorites. Like, you could pretty much power the main air blast to be very, very powerful, and that could get you through most situations. But when you have all your magical abilities caked up to 11, and you can start taking on these enemies without having to mix in stealth, that's when the game really starts to feel good. You kind of feel like a avatar in a sense. You That's what the one of the main vibes I got from this. I kind of feel like I'm playing a first person Avatar the Last Airbender, and you're basically shooting fire, water, air. I think there's an earth ability. I think that other ability you have is earth, or maybe your bow and arrow represents earth because it hits like a fucking like a giant boulder through a damn arrow tip. And that's also another weapon you get is a bow and arrow, because there's sections where you don't have your. There's one section of the game where you don't have your powers. You have to sneak to reunite with your ghost buddy, or in order to gain your powers back. And trust me, you will feel the difference when you lose your powers at certain parts. It's like a wake-up call. But then once you master the ability of ethereal weaving, you can group up so many different enemies. You have to basically beat the enemy down with your magical attacks until their spirit core is exposed in the center. Once exposed, you can use ethereal weaving to absorb them all into yourself, and that is one of the main ways to get stronger and level up. Now, the way the cutscenes are presented, they are really cool. One of the gripes, though, I wish the game was a little longer. Yes, like, I know a lot of people nowadays don't like super long games, but I kind of wish the game was a little longer. It has those moments where you feel like something big is going to occur, something massive is going to be a payoff, and then boom, it's just either resolved or thrown to the side to what's important. Now, don't get me wrong, the core of the story is your character Akio trying to save his sister. That's the main driving force, along with being with your spiritual detective KK, having your back throughout the course of the story. And it's this kind of story where it's like a buddy cop, buddy cop thing. You have a cop, you're immortal, and you have to go on this journey together. There are points where you could tell these two see eye to eye, then there's parts where they don't see eye to eye. But they have to understand that they're in this position where they need each other to get through this circumstance. And you start to learn throughout the course of the game how the main villain and the cop and a bunch of all these other characters you meet in the game all connect. Because at first, when you're first going through it, unless you're really paying attention, some things you will get lost on. I ain't gonna front you there. I got lost a couple times, and I had to be like, wait a minute, okay, let me read up on this, or let me go out into the world and figure out what I'm missing. Finding data files for your character. Being able to just explore the world to figure things out. And some people would say, but is it an empty open world because there's no people? Yes, you are correct. There are no people to be found in the game. It's almost like you're in the spirit realm, which is a reflection of the real world. That's how it's presented. It's very much like I said, Silent Hill. You're in a darker version of the reality you know. And it's crazy to see like bodies littered, but with no bodies. Yeah, you heard how I said that. Bodies with no bodies, just clothes, empty clothes. When this fog hits, it's like it encapsulates and absorbs everything. It's almost like it's taking everyone's souls. All the people that you kind of see at the beginning cutscene, like a couple of people you see, everybody starts to lose their souls. And they're either turned into these yokai, or their souls are being used to power up the main enemy in his goals. So, with Ghostwire Tokyo, there is so much here that is crammed in just to 11 to 12 hours that it makes you wish, okay, is there an extended cut to this game? Can we get a sequel? As of now, there's no word that they'll be making a sequel, because I don't know how well this game did. I just know that it flew under my radar, and it's a very underrated game. I enjoy it. It's like, here's another kicker. I don't know if you guys heard me say this in the past. There are specific games that make you feel good when you achieve something. This is one of those games. This is one of those games that makes you feel good for investing your time and understanding the game and going through everything the game has to offer. I wish there was an expansion to at least introduce more of the Japanese mythology. See, the concept of this game could work as its own series. You don't necessarily need to have the main, because they basically wrap up the main character's story in this game. So, if you wanted to do a Ghostwire Tokyo sequel, these games would have to play out as more of an anthology series. Very similar to the movie, if any of you guys have ever seen it, the Japanese Creepshow-esque type anthology movie called Quaidan, which is about 4 hours long, and is a good movie, by the way, very great movie. That is how I think they should handle the Ghostwire Tokyo games. Every time you make a new game, have it with a different person, have it with a different story, but still set within the same world. You can set it within the same world. Yes, you can also reuse certain enemy types if you need to, by also bringing in new enemy types. Basically, you can take every enemy type we played in this first game, turn those into common enemy types, while slowly introducing different enemy types as the series goes on. There's a lot of potential for Ghostwire Tokyo if Bethesda and Tango Gameworks really set their mind in going forward with it. You know, it's one of those games that came out when I'm pretty sure there was other games that would distract people. Now, when you finish the main campaign, you can enter what is called the Spider's Thread. The Spider's Thread is very similar to these roguelike modes that are being added to games now. And this one has more of a scaling a tower type of feel. It does have a little story to it. It will remind you of playing God of War Ragnarok Valhalla. That's what the Spider's Thread will remind you of. If you are playing Valhalla, you're kind of going after the evil spider entity in Japanese mythology. I believe it's called the Jorigumbo or something. I might be getting confused with the Yu-Gi-Oh card. Just whichever is the, if anyone knows the name of the Japanese spider demon or spider entities, let me know. Which everyone knows, I hate fucking spiders. So you can imagine what I was like playing this mode. I was all head over heels to kill the bitch as I went through. But it does play, like I said, as you are going up a tower. Every time you do a mission and there's objectives and there's side objectives. You do all those, you come back to this little hub world where the cat spirits are all there, and you also retrieve different cat spirits that you find. Like if you find a cat's spirit in one of your missions, you bring them back for a bonus, basically bringing them back to the cat god dude. You know, it's a nice mode to just give you some extra playtime outside of the main campaign. Let's say if you didn't want to rush the main campaign and you were like, oh, I don't want to burn through the campaign, but I want to play something that's very quick. Play Spider's Web. You can basically put as much time as you want into it. It's not really something that you just, like, I have to devote my time. No, you can just pick it up and go. Do a couple missions, come back to it. Do a couple missions, come back to it. It just crosses over, I believe it crosses over many of your powers or strengths, or I think it has its own, no, it has its own level up system, actually. You'll have all the powers unlocked, but you have to level them up with the unique skill tree to this mode, because this mode has its own skill tree and items and anything to help you get through beating this. And you're ranked at the end of each stage, which also can determine how much XP you are given or the spirit points or anything like that to help you level up. So Ghostwire Tokyo, it's one of those games that I feel like it just flew under everyone's radar, and it was very heavily, like I said, it's heavily invested into its setting, heavily invested with the mythologies that play with, like when you see the parade of the dead walk by, that's something you see straight out of Japanese folklore pictures, like paintings and everything like that. And I think it is done really, really well. The game gives you this sense of urgency, sense of feeling bizarre, and this sense of danger. And pardon my dog if you hear him in the background, because sometimes when you're not looking, an enemy can sneak up on you. That's the thing. Like being in a game where you're fighting spirits constantly, you'll never know where they are unless you see them or happen to see the little indicators that have turned red or yellow when they can spot you. But in turn, when you find them and you can defeat them in whole, you kind of want to just go out there and wipe out every single spirit to feel like you're saving other people. There's a lot of unique side missions. Like, I got one for you. Let me tell you this while I do this Jinzo statue right here, which is also something that helps you level up your magical abilities and your health. One of these side missions was to help a ghost get fucking toilet paper because the ghost had diarrhea. I am not kidding with you. I had to help a ghost get fucking toilet paper. That is so wild and bizarre and dumb that it could only work in a game like this. When you're like, wait a minute, this game is already bizarre. I can hear the thoughts and see the thoughts of animals, such as Shiba Inus and cats. And there's fucking cats that sell me my items. So anything that you think would be odd or bizarre with this game, you'll quickly realize, you know what? This is just normal in this kind of game. This is normal to be in Japan. And I've never been to Tokyo, so I can't judge how accurate they represented Tokyo, but at least from what I've seen, it looks like a faithful rendition of Tokyo from media that I've watched, such as movies, played certain games, watched certain shows. And yeah, Ghostwire Tokyo is really one of those games that if you get the chance to play it, I recommend you playing it. So all I gotta say is, this is Emperor John Kill 3D Gaming. Be sure to like, subscribe, favorite, and thank you for watching this look back at Ghostwire Tokyo.